spin for you. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the number one cause of economic failure. Now, I want to talk about how it is that I came into being the uneducated economist here on this channel and what that really meant for me and the profound changes in my life. Now, I have to take it back to about 40 years old, and many of you have heard me tell this story. At 40 years old, I was very much broke, in debt, alcoholic, had broken down car, like I was in bad shape. And for a lot of people out there, very much in the same condition, it was hopeless. Like I had no expectation that I was going to be doing anything in my life that was going to be anything of profound impact on anybody, and just kind of accepted the fact that it just was the way it was. Now, I look back on the times and I think to myself, wow, what a change. Like, how is it that I have had such a profound belief change from thinking that it was hopeless to being in a position in which that I think opportunities are just completely abundant in everywhere I look. And it's such a difference to think that there's so many people out there who actually have this belief that it's hopeless or that it's not going to be anything other than just this chaotic, horrible deterioration, bad thing, right? I don't know how else to describe it for you. But most people who I know look at the economy and look at politicians and look at everything that's going on and give it a hypothetical, well, it could be if it wasn't, or all these ideas of like somebody else's fault. And I did that. Like that was me. I thought the New World Order was coming to take us all away, right? It was going to wipe everybody out. There was only going to be the elite, just a handful of slave people. Like I had this, I did. Like, I mean, I just figured there was no point in even trying anymore because really, what was it that you're going to be trying for if they were just going to take it all from you anyway? And this is very much how I looked at things. Now, as time went on, I started to realize, man, these thoughts, these negative thoughts that I have are really holding me down. It's keeping me from making decisions that would, in my opinion today, would be like stepping into something that is going to have a return back to me. Like, investments, investment in time, investment in myself, investment in stocks, bonds, whatever, just investment into the future. Like, I didn't have that thinking about the New World Order. There was no future, right? There was going to be this chaotic event. Everybody was going to get wiped out, and then we would have to rebuild after that. That's kind of the idea that I was thinking. So I sat around thinking about that idea and trying to show evidence of it and debate people about it and never really taken in any kind of consideration of what it is that the future would really hold for me if I was to say, okay, well, things may continue on without this revolutionary total economic collapse or some sort of thing that was just going to drive everybody into the pits of despair, right? I didn't take that consideration on. And so it was no wonder why my life looked like it did. Like I just didn't think that there was any reason to do anything other than what I was doing, which was basically just living day to day, okay? Because there was no hope. And so as I listen to people talk about some of the things that they see going on out there, oh, it's their fault. Well, if it wasn't for this particular political mindset, if it wasn't for, whatever, like just fill in the blank, they have all these things that they throw out there that are excuses. And I think to myself, yeah, I used to do those same things. And now I look at it much differently because I think about some of the people that I've hung out with and had conversations with. They don't talk about how it necessarily could be. I mean, maybe that's part of the conversation at times, but it's almost always about what it is that we should be doing right now with the current situation as is. Like what we as individuals can do for ourselves, for the position that we hold. That's the conversation. It's not like, oh, hey, if they weren't having this liberal mindset, we could, have this much better economy or something like that. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, those type of conversations arise, but the general energy and view that has taken place is one is, what do I do with this situation that's at hand? Right? Because we can talk about, see, here's the thing. We can talk about a hypothetical situation that would totally be absolutely awesome. And then say, hey, if you put yourself in this hypothetical position, then everything would work out if that actually occurs. And then you do that, and then you sit around and you wait for it to occur. And then you look for evidence of it maybe occurring. Right? You see the difference inside of this? Like, you're sitting around waiting for something to happen that may or may not take place because you're doing it on a hypothetical situation that may or may not occur based on some evidence that you have. Maybe just looking at the situation for what it is, whether it's a good or bad to your opinion, that's like, I mean, that's up to you to give the meaning to it. But it's better to look at the situation for what it is and say, how do I deal with it, right? Because this is my economy. Right? The number one cause of economic failure is your understanding of the economy. There's nobody else who can make your decisions for you. And I understand that you want to be consistent. You want to be consistent. You want to show up at work on time. You want to get your paycheck. You want to be able to pay your bills. You want to be able to put into your savings, into your retirement, take your vacations, and be very consistent and dedicated and hard work. And unfortunately, nothing stays consistent or the same. And you have to adapt and change to the situation. I would love it to go out every single time to go fishing, to have an absolutely beautiful day where it's very calm and no other fishermen, and it's awesome, and I catch my limit over the course of the afternoon, not too quick, but just enough timing so it makes it continuously fun. All right, and if it's not that, I'm going to be bummed out. Like, I mean, really? That's not the way it works. You go out fishing every single day, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, because you like to catch fish, and the end result of catching fish is the goal. And you can't wait for the perfect conditions to go out there and go fishing. You have to fish every single day. And that's the point of it. It was just like sitting around saying, well, if it wasn't for this mindset, it would be a such better place. Well, maybe, probably, I don't know, could be, I guess. Right? I mean, who's to say? It might be something totally different that we would be experiencing that you wouldn't like, but we wouldn't know because we're not in that, we're in this, and we have to deal with this. And that's all there is to it. So the more I think about what it is that's really causing the problem, it's your thinking. It's my thinking. It's their thinking. Right? And when we think in a way that says, hey, it's somebody else's problem, or I need to change this external thing out there, then this is the problem that will never be solved. Never, ever, ever. And the more we start looking towards it as saying, okay, well, I need to internalize the issue and say, okay, it's not the external, it's definitely my thinking about it, how it is that I deal with these decisions, where it is that I go with my efforts, my time, my energy, and my resources, and then realize that if I was to party that, drink it away, smoke it away, throw it away in any way, shape, or form that's chasing some sort of luxurious experience that doesn't have any kind of return on it, then I can expect that I would find pain and misery from a result. Like, I don't know how, that would not be the result. So if you take somebody who says, man, this is tough out here, I better save a lot of money, I better not go out to the party, I better not go do those things that are going to cause me to lose money, and I better return that back into something that I feel is going to be a safe and liquid asset going into the future. Whether that's gold, silver, cut diamonds, treasury bonds, Bitcoin, whatever it is that you happen to have in mind, that's up to you to figure out. Maybe it's diversifying into all those things. Recognizing that I have to look out there and say, okay, yeah, there's bad things that are taking place. How is it that I deal with this situation? This is by far the most common conversation that I have when I go to the rebel capitalist. How do I deal with the situation? Not how do we change it? There's people who come up to me and say, how do we change the situation? They always want to talk about a different currency or, come up with a theory and want to shoot that theory around. And a great stimulating debate and thought and theory, all that stuff is fun to talk about. Don't get me wrong. And it's probably good to do it too. Like, I'm not trying to say that it's not even, I think it's productive conversations too. right? Because it gives you new ideas and ideas of what it is that needs to happen going into the future. And I'm not saying that change can't happen, right? All I'm trying to say is like to sit around and wait for the hypothetical situation to manifest itself into your reality so that you would then feel safe and it's appropriate to then invest will probably never ever happen. It just won't happen. And just understand that if you do put some money into the stocks, or you put money into gold and silver, or you put money into a business, or you put money towards something and you lose it, that's the lesson learned. That's how you learn lessons. You know, lessons cost money. That's all there is to it. Whether you go to a class and you pay for it, or you pay for it and, failed experience, it's a lesson learned every single time. Some people need to learn their lesson a lot, especially those who are, like alcoholics. Like, it took a long time. It took a lot of lessons, a whole lot of lessons. So I understand what it is that's happening out there that's really causing the problem. And I think that to myself, 80% of the people are thinking in the way that I used to think. How do we change? How, like, people get, I don't want to hear anymore. Give me some good things that we could do to change this thing for the better. Like, that's like, people will literally interrupt me in that fashion. And I'll be like, it's your problem, not mine. You have the failure to understand. I don't have the failure to understand. I'm not saying I'm like kicking ass and millions of dollars rolling in every single month. But my understanding of the economy has now given me a position in which that I get to pay my bills on time. You know how awesome that is for a guy who didn't think that there was any hope? That's an awesome experience, right? So when somebody says, hey, just give me some good ideas on what it is that we can do, give me some helpful, useful things that we can do as a whole, as a community, as this, whatever. And I'm like, there's nothing we can do as a whole outside of what we are doing. This is it. This is the best you got. But you can change your understanding of what it is that's happening out there to give a different meaning to saying, hey, it's not the external that needs to change, but the internal that needs to change. And the internal is just the changing of the understanding of the information to say, what is it that I do with this so that I need to be cutting back on my expenses, increasing my income, and then deploying that extra money into a return. Like, I don't know, step 1, 2, 3, cut back on expenses, bring in income, put it towards investments. I don't know how, it's like as simple as that. And I think a lot of times people are just too worried to. I don't know. I don't know. Like 80% of the people out there, I just don't think see it like that. Right? They think it's somebody else's problem that needs to be solved. Let's go check out this $10 super chat here from Jake. Thank you so much, Jake3551. Thank you for the $10. I adjust to the world as it is rather than waiting for the world to change and accommodate me. And I think that's probably that's the most appropriate way of looking at just about anything out there, because nobody's going to be living my life. Nobody knows exactly what it is that I have going on. Some people like to drive a new big vehicle, truck, car, whatever it is that they have out there. That's like their existence. They really enjoy that. That's part of their life. I think about that. I think, man, I am so glad I do not have that burden. Yeah. Other people, they're like, oh man, you got kids. Oh, you know how expensive kids are? And I'm like, oh no, the kids are cool. I like the kids. Like, the kids are the best part of the whole thing. That's the awesome part. Yeah. But other people, they're like, oh no, my truck. You can't tell me I can't have my truck. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess we all have our priorities, right? Because everybody has meaning that they're going to give something. And I think to myself, if I had the new truck right now, so I could be looking cool and have it and be awesome and feel good when I'm driving it around and all that other stuff, I would not be able to be moving weekly into dollar cost averaging into a portfolio of fairly liquidable assets, some of them very liquidable assets. And this is like, I mean, everybody has their priorities. And so I don't look at the economy being a bad thing. I don't look at it as a good thing. It just is. It's just like, up and down. Some months are good, some months are bad for me, and I just think to myself, if you don't take the good with the bad, then you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster as, the waves come in. It's not going to be a nice, beautiful, awesome day to go fishing every single day you want to go fishing. Some days, if you want to go fishing, you're going to have to put on the rain gear. Right? I remember duck hunting. This is great because like duck hunting, the best days of duck hunting is when it's the worst possible weather to be in. Right? When it's beautiful weather out and it's like really nice, you don't want to go duck. All the ducks are out in open water, right? You want it to be nasty and blowing and crazy and wind and all that other stuff because it pushes the waterfowl inward, and that's where you're at. You're hiding inland a little ways. And that's like, the worse it got out there, the more it's like, oh yeah, the more the hunt was on. And so I think about that. It was just like I don't look at anything anymore, or I try not to look at anything anymore with any kind of meaning, with any other meaning than the meaning that I'm choosing to give it. Right? Because that's the only thing I have control over. It's the same thing with you. It's the only thing you have total control over is the meaning that you are choosing to give whatever it is that's going on out there. And if you're sitting around feeling uptight, frustrated, and mad because of the news articles that you are looking at or watching, then think about that. That's the meaning that you have chosen to give your time and energy towards. What are you doing with that? I mean, are you using that in any kind of productive form other than just getting pissed? I don't know why anybody does that. I listen to it happen all the time. I mean, sometimes I think, I listen to an individual who's going off about talking points that they heard on the news. Right? And I don't know if they really truly understand the topic that they are going into and covering, but they definitely know that it's the liberal mindset that's causing it. And so I kind of laugh at this, and I think to myself, well, okay, well, you got your meaning behind it because you're blaming them. And then at the same time, I'm looking at my Facebook and I'm watching how the blame on this president and causing these situations of like, all this ugliness, like, I don't know, this whole King's, I don't even look at it. I'm sorry. I can't even explain it because I just don't pay attention to any of the crap. So, I mean, the whole King's riot thing, whatever that is, like, I didn't even know that, like, I was like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, I don't get this, right? And it's because most of this protesting stuff is literally noise that doesn't mean anything. Okay? It'll all be gone someday. Nobody will be listening to it. Nobody will be paying attention to it. Right? It's only important right now as people are making noise about it. And then once it's over, it's gone. I think to myself, that's like, I mean, I love activism. I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love to see it in the streets. I do. Because it lets me know that it's still alive and it's still there and it's still present and it's still possible. But when I think these people who are out there with their signs and they're picketing and they're screaming and they're yelling and they're trying to persuade other people into a belief, I'm thinking you are no activist. Right? What I do is being an activist. I believe that understanding how it is that the Federal Reserve is truly operating their monetary policy, and if everybody was to truly understand it in the fashion that we do here on the Uneducated Economist, they would not be able to perform it, and it would end. I really do think that I'm the only one who's actively attempting to end the Federal Reserve. I think everybody who is attempting to try and end the Fed with their statements of ending the Fed are really giving it effort in what they believe is an honest, honorable effort. And I don't think that they are being disingenuous. I just think they're going about it the wrong way. Right? Because I think that if you were to understand the Federal Reserve strategy the way that we have tried to develop here on the Uneducated Economist through the credible threat theory, I believe that if everybody was to truly understand it, and it was to spread across, and the nation and everybody on the news articles was talking about it, and other YouTubers were breaking the theory down even better than the Uneducated Economist has, I think that if that was to truly happen, the Federal Reserve would not be able to exist in the fashion they are today. I truly believe that. But there's nothing I can do because nobody's really going to follow the uneducated economist on that level to create the issues that the Fed would then be experiencing from people truly understanding how it's breaking down. You know? And I don't mean to be like cocky and arrogant about it. It's just like, but them pulling the wool over your eyes, using their communications, using specific sentences to create, asset price fluctuations to either increase or decrease the tightening or cycles. I mean, it's just like I've shown evidence of it so many times now that there's very little doubt in my mind. And so knowing it and recognizing it as it's taken place is then giving me a lot more confidence in what it is that I am doing with my money. Like, I know diversifying is the most important thing that I have ever done in my life after I moved away from silver, but silver was definitely the most important thing that I had stepped into first. Like, if there was anything that I would tell anybody to get their hands on, it would be silver first. It's outside of the third party claim. It's away from everybody. You protect it. There's nothing else quite like it. I would get silver. Once you have silver, get into Robinhood or, Cash App or something. There's online brokers. I'm not trying to pick one or promote one over the other. Just go figure one out. And then start dollar cost averaging into something that you are familiar with. I don't know how else to say it. If you don't do that and you don't have confidence in doing that, then you're going to have to start small. Start with enough that you're willing to lose. If you're just not feeling confident with it, you can do very little amount. You can do a very small amount. Once you do this, you'll change your mindset. You will no longer be looking at things that says, hey, I'm being held down. You will be looking at things like, hey, where can I put my money so I can get a return? And this will be the mindset that you turn into. And it will be a completely different shift. 80% of the people think, oh man, it's this problem. It's this fault. It's this thing, right? That's going on out there that's holding me down. 20% of the people out there go, what is it that I can do? Where is it that I can place this? How is it that I can make this work for me? You see the difference inside of this? There's people out there who say, I work damn hard and what I do should be appropriate. Other people say, I work damn hard. How is it that I make this work appropriately? Okay. So there's people who say, I need people out there to do this and make this work in my hypothetical situation to exist so that I am acting absolutely appropriate and my ego feels safe. And there's other people out there who say, this is a situation that needs my attention and my change to adapt. Or me to change and adapt. There we go. That's the difference. Once you have this mindset change, you will be like 20% of the people. You won't be on the other side of the wedge tomorrow, but you will definitely be moving in that direction. Everybody else is waiting for the opportunity, the hypothetical opportunity to exist that will never be there. Never, ever. All right, 23 minutes into this. Where's my glasses? Thank you so much for being here. We got 182 people watching. All right. All-nighters up in here. Hey, Wayne, it's been a slow tide. It only counts when you sell it. Everything else is pissing in the wind. Ask AI, if you were to start a business today, what would it recommend? Ask AI. I don't know. I was talking with Sarah yesterday and about all the different businesses that we had ever thought about. And, it's funny. I told her, I said, really what we should do is spend a half an hour every day either thinking about a new business that we could start, just contemplating what it is that we could do to try and make money, like the picnic bench or to, whatever, I don't know, just whatever, start a food cart, whatever it is. And then talk about what it would be like to get that business started, how to get it started, what that would look like, and do that every day for a half an hour for like 90 days. Do like a 90-day challenge of 30 days of sitting there, not necessarily like focusing in on one business, but just taking 30 minutes every day to either think of a business, think of how that business would start, or think of different businesses. Just take 30 minutes to think of different businesses and do this every day for like 90 days, 30 minutes a day for 90 days. I would just be curious to see what would happen from that. Just super simple rules like that. Just, doesn't matter really. Just like maybe just sit there and just list off different businesses that you can do for 30 minutes. Just sit there and list off as many and give them names. Give them like maybe just title names of businesses that you could do, right? And just do that for 30 minutes. Maybe the next day, take one business is like, okay, how much money, how would I get money? How would I invest into this one particular business? Next day, do something else for 30 minutes and do that every single day for 90 days, 30 minutes every single day. I wonder what the results would be. I mean, I know every single person would have different results, but that would be a fun, interesting challenge to do. And then do like, YouTube videos on your experience on what would come from something like that. Yeah, I'd be curious, The entrepreneur mindset would really start getting triggered there after a while. Like, you get so many days into it and all of a sudden, like, I think there would be like a shift in thought and the way that you were being and carrying yourself and the vibrational energies that you were carrying. I think opportunity would really start flying at you, and like, things would happen that you weren't expecting. Let's check out the super chat. So, I love the sleaze core trick bagger. All right, $4.99. Thank you so much. I have an emergency fund, 1 month expenses and checking, and other than topping up my checking account, the rest goes straight into BTC or stocks, no consuming. See, that's essentially like I do some consuming because I want my kids to have somewhat of an experience where it's not like I'm a just complete tight ass. But I try to put a fairly decent amount into several different places when it comes to stocks, bonds, Bitcoin, whatever. Mostly it's stocks and Bitcoin. I have to admit right now there's like very little going into, well, no, I am buying silver right now too. So, but not very much in bonds. I have purchased bonds in the past. But for the most part, I am just like really into stocks, cryptos, and I've been buying 10 ounces of silver a month. And it's a lot. Like it's hard to do it. And sometimes I'm like, crap, I end up having to like dip into savings, which I really don't like to do because I don't spend too much money buying into these different positions. Super chatting on YouTube will help you long term for sure, because Simon has the answers. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the super chats. It's a great way to support the Uneducated Economist, my efforts out here, coming out and trying to share what it is that I've learned, everything that I've come across, all my story of change and everything that I've experienced. I mean, coming out here and sharing this with you guys, not only has it helped me to understand where it is that I am in my life, but then understand the economics, understanding that nobody is in the same position, and that people at the top really don't have any clue of like how it is that the people at the bottom live. People at the bottom really have no idea how it is that they are going to get themselves to the top because of the mindset and the way that they think. And because of all this, I really just don't see that there's going to be any kind of real change to the way things are going, other than the massive inequality that has taken place, the ever increasing amounts of war and debt issuance. Like, those things are going to be continuous. How you position yourself inside of that is really up to you. And I know a lot of times, like, I want things to be awesome too. Like, I would love to say, hey man, I'm gonna think of a way that everybody is going to be watching my YouTube channel Once they watch one video that I put out there, everybody's going to be holding hands, singing Kumbaya, and I'm going to be able to go and do my 8 hours worth of work. It's going to be completely enough for everything inside of my entire family. I'm going to get to go fishing and surfing every single time I want to, and that's the way life is going to be. Like, I don't know how that's going to happen. Like, I can't do that for anybody else, but I can try and create that for myself. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm on my own when it comes to making the right decisions that is going to make that happen for me, because I don't know if you want to go fishing and surfing. You know, like, I haven't gone surfing in so long, I don't even know if I know how. You know, like, that's how long it's been since I've been in the ocean. It's been forever because it's too cold here in Oregon, and you have to, like, be 20 years old to be willing to do it. Um, anyway, no, I'm just kidding. We actually have a huge surfing community out there. But you guys get where I'm coming from. The thought that you put into the data that you are giving, it is so critically important to give that meaning, a meaning of, this is going to work for me. I'm going to make this work in my benefit. Because if you look at it and you say, oh man, they're causing even more pain and misery to me, then I guarantee you that's what you're going to get from it. All the people that I know who talk in a way that is, I'm using information right now, this current situation, to better myself, all those people are doing incredibly well. It's like, you will find people who say, yeah, it's that, it's caused, it's done this, these are the excuses. You'll find that at places like the Rebel Capitalist, but for the most part, they are breaking down what is taking place so that you can put yourself in a better position. That's what's generally being talked about. These are people who are successful, they're being successful now. And when I think about it, my success that I have got, that I feel like I don't even feel like I'm that successful. I just feel like I'm getting there, you know, like I'm on my way. I feel like I'm still on that path and I'm enjoying the journey and I'm loving every minute of it. And that's the thing that I feel, is that I'm not quite successful, as other people might look at it and say, hey man, you're quite successful being able to go and travel around and do these speaking engagements and meet all these cool, awesome people like G. Edward Griffin, and, you know, Ken McElroy and Jason Hartman and Robert Kiyosaki, speak on the same stage and to the same audience as Ron Paul. Like, these are like the most amazing things, and people will be like, man, that's quite successful to be able to do that. And I'm like, yeah, we're getting there. You know, we're getting there. I mean, I still got I got a long ways to go, but that's me, right? That's the meaning that I've given it, because I want to continue to push myself into a higher level, at the same time try to stay somewhat grounded and, you know, close to my family. So, you know, I'm torn, right? I have my own demons that I have to fight, and these are some of the things that I have experienced from my life. Nobody's going to be dealing with it like that. Nobody's going to be dealing with their issues like I'm doing it, right? You know, even me just describing some of the things are like, wow, man, that's like, I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. You know, so enjoy enjoy the journey, and know that it's going to be hard at times, and that you're not going to know if you're doing the right thing. Like, that's okay. Not that's where I think people end up getting the most upset with everything out there, is because they literally just don't know if they're doing the right thing. That's okay. Know that you're not doing the right thing. Right? I mean, don't go purposefully out there doing the wrong thing. Right? I mean, that's not right. I mean, but if you if you are trying that new business, right? If you think that the investment is the right one, you've been watching and you feel like this is going to be the place that you should put your money. This is the place you need to move to. These are the people you need to hang out with. All these things can be scary, or this change, right? This how else do I put it? Just this tense feeling, right? The tension. Lean into that. Lean into that tension, whatever it is. The worry of the business, right? The worry of the investment, the worry of the move. Lean into that tension. That's where all the wonderful magic is found. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to be found in the safe place, right? Because you already experienced that. There's no fun or new in the safe, in the current, right? It's all in the experience of what's happening there in that that feeling of like, I don't know what's there, or the scary unknown, right? The day like I was going to speak on stage at the Rebel Capitalist for the very first time, I don't know how I could have been any more nervous than I was at that moment. Like, I don't think there was anything in my life that had built up the anxiety of trying to go on stage for the very first time in my entire life, speaking economics to 800 plus people right after Robert Kiyosaki just had the whole crowd screaming and yelling after he was cussing and, riling them all up. And now it's my turn to go up on stage and give them the Uneducated Economist presentation. Do you have any idea? After flying all the way down there, building it all up, talking to people, like having no idea what it was that I was going to say, and then 30 days before I showed up down there, I came up with something to talk about. And then when I got up on stage, because I was nervous as hell and had no idea what to experience, but I knew that once I grabbed that microphone, I was going to start talking, I blacked out. I do not remember being on stage. I don't remember giving this presentation. The only thing I remember was putting my hand on the podium and then all of a sudden coming to and looking at a sea of eyes that were completely quiet and listening. I went, oh no, I don't know what I just said. And I don't know what I'm supposed to say next. All I could think of was just like, man, what did your acting coach tell you if you go up? Just open your mouth and just start saying the next thing you could possibly think of that was the next possible line. So I opened my mouth and I started using words. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember anything until I said, is there any questions? And then I do remember answering some of the questions. That experience up there that I essentially do not remember was probably one of the most incredible, impactful, like life-changing events that I had ever gone through, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to even walk up on stage. People said that they didn't even realize that I had missed a beat. They said the entire presentation went off as if I was as comfortable as anything else up there, had no problems whatsoever. It was after that, getting up on stage was no problem. Yeah, I was still nervous. I was still scared to get up there, get the butterflies or whatever. I think that everybody's going to get that stage fright kind of thing. I've been performing at the tavern every single weekend for 20 years, calling the bingo game. And right before I get started, I get just a little kind of nervous right before I start grabbing everybody's attention and calling out the bingo game. Yeah. Lean into the tension. That's where the magic is found. That's where everything that is wonderful is found. If you've been wanting to start that business, but you are debating it back and forth and whether or not you should try, and, the family is like, you keep asking the family and friends and all the other stuff about it, and you just don't know. It's just like, that's a horrible existence to constantly be in. You got to know at some point. Yeah. Failure, it can happen. I mean, is it going, like, I failed a lot. I failed all the way up until my 40s. Right? And even then, since then, I feel like there's a couple of things that I failed on since then. I mean, they're not nearly as like dramatic as failing in life and like being completely in debt and broke and no cars. I mean, that's like kind of like really bad failure. But there's other things that I didn't do right on, like, Sarah's car. That was kind of a failure in investment, blowing transmission, cost a lot in interest payments and debt and all the other stuff. And so it's just like, there's failures in my life that take place, but they're not nearly as bad as they once were, because really I just don't give them the meaning of failures. They're more to just lessons in life that are learned, right? Failure's a good thing. I mean, it's like failure isn't bad. It's just how else you can figure it out, I mean, that's it. This is like, that's the lessons, and sometimes they cost money, and either you can go and take a class or you can screw it up. One or the other, you're gonna learn. All right, I'm laughing at UE, not my comments down. All right. Oh, you guys are awesome. How long are we into this? Man, I'm really just babbling on, aren't I? We got 230 people watching with 92 likes. Thank you so much for liking that or hitting that thumbs up button and liking the video. By doing that, the YouTube algorithm will pick up the video, spread it around for more people to join in. Failure is the greatest teacher, Yoda. Yeah, and that's ultimately what I've had to find out throughout my life is that I like, to me, like, I don't even call it failure. I call it proof of concept theories. Like, I had this idea, let's go and test it out and see how far we could push it until it breaks, right? And then once we see how it breaks, then we'll figure out how it broke, and then we'll learn from that, and then we'll try it again, and then push it as far as we can until it breaks again, and then because we're obviously know it's not going to work, right? I mean, it's going to break. So let's go ahead and just do that, and then once it breaks, we'll say, okay, that's where it broke. Change that, do it again, bang. Okay, let's do it again. Right? And I know that's kind of like maybe a clumsy way of going about it, but to me, that's essentially how I figured out everything I do in my life. And I think that, to be honest, like, I'm not somebody who can learn very well in a traditional manner. I'm just not. Like, I literally have to disassemble things and screw it up and, like, oh man. And then now it's like I can't put it back together. I saw how it came apart. I saw kind of how it worked on the way as I was taking it apart. But now that it's all taken apart, I can't necessarily put it back together again. But I learned so much on the way, and I'm not going to take the next one apart because I kind of understand how it works now. You see, like, that's kind of my attitude about a lot of things. Maybe that's why that's why all my girlfriends in high school. All right. Um, I got what? Let's see. Default on your house. I'll cover your payment if you let me park my RV. All right. I'm someone who can only learn from inside my car. Well, we all have our spot. I can't take things apart except for my car. That I can take apart and put back together. Yeah, like, some things I can, I can change the oil and the alternator, maybe get into the starter, stuff like that. But, like, I'm not gonna go tearing into an engine or something like that. That's not me. Love silver, have a lot. Lately been on an art binge. I can't stop buying paintings and statues. UE provides great value. I don't get why some people must be negative. I don't know. Well, people are negative. This is the thing that I found is that, um, like, again, I don't want to get into the whole life coaching thing, because a lot of people say, hey, man, I love it when you talk that way and give us that life coaching thoughts and theories. But something that I really found out about negative comments, especially those of another person, like, if you're commenting about another person or their activity, what it is that they're doing, their behavior, the way they look, something, right? What ends up happening from this negative comment that is being pushed out there is it's a reflection of the internal, right? So there's something going on there. It's not maybe necessarily a direct, like, they may look like a weirdo or something like that to them, right? But they may not be dressed the same way, but they're insecure about the way they look. Right? And so they're commenting about, oh man, look, how can they just walk around dressed like that? They're literally insecure about their style, the way they look. Maybe they're overweight, their physical appearance, something about them, or maybe something that they have going on in their life that they're just embarrassed about. And so this is the reflection that they are putting out there. And this is what I found out about it, right? And it's also the same thing when you hear somebody saying something about something else that somebody likes. They're like, oh man, it's what they like about what's inside themselves, right? And they see it out there and they reflect and then they talk about that. So listen to the negative things and positive things that people are saying out there, and you can see how it is that people are directly feeling about themselves. Right? And this is where I'm starting to come like more in into understanding of this in like, because I always look back and I recognize this. It's always too late. It's hard to recognize this stuff in real time as it's actively happening in front of you, right? Because then when you, instead of getting pissed at the person, you can actually feel somewhat sorry for them when it's happening. You can be like, "Ooh, God, what's going on inside, man?" I mean, like that you would be talking about this person, you have no idea who they are. You don't, like, they're not anything to do with us. They're just barely in our view. And yet you had to bring something up and say something about them. What's going on, man? That's like inside. That's deep in there. Yeah. And so now that I'm starting to understand this more when I see people doing it, like before I would just get angry and just kind of upset with them about it, you know, it's just like, hey man, stop talking about people, right? But now I realize, oh, okay, now I'm starting to understand where this energy is coming from. Right? And that's a huge difference. So don't stress it. I mean, it happens. Yeah. If they're really disruptive, then they can't really be here anyway. So. Oh, they make it so you need special tools nowadays. Oh, to work on your cars? Yeah, absolutely, they do. Okay, maybe we should vote for someone who would stop private medical insurance from finding new ways of robbing us. And yes, we all need to try and make the best of the situation as is, but mainly that's about helping yourself at the expense of others, guys, such as buying houses and then selling for it for much more. You gain, the buyer loses. Well, David, that's not necessarily true, because you maybe have improved that house, or providing them with an ability to move into a house when they didn't have one before. Like, you don't know the situation of the buyer. It's not that they lose. They very well could have been a winner too. Everything comes down to the meaning that you're giving it. And I understand that you don't like the medical, like, and just like anything else out there, I don't like a whole lot of the banking system, and I don't like the government, and I don't like, to be honest with you guys, I don't like anything out there. That's kind of sad. I mean, don't make me admit that, but I don't like the government. I don't like the banking system. I don't like anything out there, right? I like my family. I like my family, and I like the people who are close to me, who vibe with me, right? Who carry the same vibrations, who carry the same thought and energies, who carry the same motivations. Those are the people like I want to surround myself with. That's who I want to be around. Most people out there don't really aren't that appealing. And I don't mean to be like, be that way. It's just, but that's the truth of the matter. It's just like very few people are going to be like, dude, you're like such the dude that everybody wants to hang out with, and man, you're like just the, like, who cares? Like, that's not the way it goes down. People like you and some people don't. And government's frustrating, banks are frustrating, most people out there are in for themselves, they're frustrating. It's just like, what do? Right? So you just conduct yourself in the best fashion you can. You conduct yourself in a way that says, hey, I carry an energy that is for me. This is all mine. Like, you can't own my energy. I got to conduct myself the way that I want to carry. I used to carry myself in a way that says, like, I used to be one of those guys, everybody likes me. I just want everybody to be cool and happy and just enjoy life and all the other stuff. And I kind of really true deep down inside believe that. But there's nothing I can do about making people happy, and I'm not going to try. There was a time when I would try. And I think that is what makes you like inauthentic. And that's where the problem starts to lie, because you get very frustrated with yourself and your life and everything that's going on around you. I don't feel frustrated with my life, and I understand that there's people out there who don't like what I say. And I get it. I mean, there's people out there who say stuff that I don't like. I mean, I don't have to listen to them. And this is where I think a lot of times when people recognize that this is the way that they had been conducting themselves, one, saying that I want everybody to like me and I'm just going to conduct myself in a way that gets everybody to like me. And then what ends up resulting from that is being very exhausted and frustrated and disappointed and hurt and and heartbroken and all these things that come from doing that. It's not up to you to do that. You're not here to make everybody else happy. There's no point in trying. The only thing you can do is attempt to make yourself as happy as possible for your situation that you are in. And if you are a generous person with your family and the friends and everybody else around you, with your abundance that you have managed to accumulate, I guarantee you're going to feel good about your life. It's just, it's not hard. It's really not. Yeah. And as we take it into the idea, it's just like it's government's fault. Like, I don't blame government. Government's not on my side for anything, because I'm more of a constitutionalist than anything. And there's really no governmental, like, I don't see how it is that the current administration or anything within the cabinets or even local politicians or anything, I do not see where they put the Constitution at the forefront in thought. In fact, they can't. As long as you have a central bank system, right, a central banking system, fiat currency, literally the idea of a constitutional republic has gone out the door. It's like it just doesn't exist. So the only person who holds constitutional rights is the individual who is willing to protect them at the time that they are being infringed. That's it. Right? Because the government doesn't act constitutionally. They don't act within the confines of the Constitution. However, you can hold on to your constitutional rights if you know what they are and if you know how to exercise them at the moment. All right? Outside of that, this isn't a game. And everybody wants to say, hey, man, we can figure out how to do it a better way or something like that. And I'm thinking, the only thing I can do is figure out how I can play the game. Because what I have in my life and what I need is going to be so different from everybody else's. Man, I'm really babbling on here. What are we talking about? Do we want to cover anything? Or are we just going to go on babbling? UE pimps the system rather than being pimped now. Well, I mean, I would like to think so. Like, I would like to think that, by having broken down this information, read through a lot of the speeches, figuring out what the Fed strategy is, recognizing it, even in the mainstream media articles, trying to show evidence of that, and essentially using all that information to my benefit to come out here on YouTube to share the ideas with you so that you can better strategize on how it is you can position yourself. And I know the positions that I have taken have done quite well. Like, I mean, my Coinbase stock it's super volatile, don't get me wrong, but I dollar cost averaged into that stock for, I don't know, over a year or something like that. It was up at 300% at one point. Right? My holdings on it. And I'm thinking, wow, that's incredible. Like, there might have been a lot of people out there, I wouldn't touch that for $1 million. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm into it. Right? I did total stock market ETF. It barely moved at all. Right? It's up 30% comparatively. Yeah. I don't know, guys. Like, everybody's going to be making decisions. Some people want to be real estate. Like, they really, really love the idea of being in real estate. And I've known so many people to do it. Everybody I know who's like really wealthy, they've all done it in real estate. Every one of them, like all of them. And so there's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel. If you want to be like really wealthy, then you're probably going to have to do it in property ownership. But it doesn't mean you can't be a capitalist who does quite well living independently of just about everybody else out there by deploying your money into a position that has a return that gives you the ability to live off of your investments. Like, individuals can do that if you are very disciplined and hardworking and do it for a while. And it isn't new. This is the same thing that Cantillon described hundreds of years ago. He said that there are people out there who will postpone spending their money so that they can save the capital in order to invest it to get a return beyond that of their employment. Those people are the ones who separate themselves from everybody else. The people who don't separate themselves are the people who are looking and waiting and hoping and wishing for a change. They're the ones who are saying that if you don't vote for this person, it's going to get bad. They're part of the 80% who are going to struggle. I'm not saying that they can't get themselves on the other side of the wedge. I'm not going to say that, right? They can very well get themselves over there. They're going to struggle. It's going to be a fight. They're going to have to work extra hard to move beyond that of their understanding of what is happening, because they aren't taking it as an idea that I can use this information to propel myself. They're looking at it as like, I'm being pushed against. It's hard. I can't do it. These guys are doing it wrong, whatever. And that's how it goes down. The number one cause of economic failure is your own thinking, and how you think about it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people out there who are absolutely killing it right now and other people who fail. And most of the people who fail, when they fail, they feel horrible about it. They think they're depressed. It's a bad thing, and you're right, it sucks. And you think about like, man, I ain't ever going to do that again. You have to think, it took a lot to even attempt to do something. Like, to do something, it takes a lot. You already are far, like, above most people out there, even people who have a good income, because you have at least attempted to do something, right? 80% of the people don't even attempt. So knowing that you have a mindset that is different, even if you failed, the failure was the lesson learned, and it sucks. It might have been very bad. It might have taken like a lot out of your life, something that you may not recover from. You might have lost friends and family over it or whatever. It happens, right? But it's not something that you say, okay, that's it. I've lost the game. I'm not going to do it again. I give up. It's all over. I might as well just lay here and die. That's not the way it works. You take that experience and you say, okay, how do I deal with the fact that it happened and move on? Okay? Because once you do that, then you'll find yourself in a much better place. You'll move into a better place, I guess is what I should say. All right. Don't invest in hope. Invest because the math says to. Yeah. Or you just kind of know that there's going to be a general direction that this is going to take place into. Here's the thing. Here's, for example, I have no problem investing into Coinbase. You know why? It's because I believe that Coinbase is going to be the middleman for a lot of stable coin transferring. Okay, like if you want to, like if whatever stable coin to another stable. Okay, I believe Coinbase is going to be like a platform that is widely used. Why? Because it seems to be the oldest one that I've been involved with, that I have watched. Although it's had issues in the past, it's still going. It seems to be quite popular. It's getting bigger. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm not trying to defend it in any way because I don't do any kind of real research into it. It's just my experience with it that gives me a lot of confidence in being with it. Now, knowing that stable coins are going to have some sort of platform for exchange, Coinbase being in the game as long as it has, and then knowing that IMF had talked about needing an e-currency in order to deal with a recession at the lower bound of zero in order to stimulate the economy, the Genius Act leading this all up, it's just like, man, dollar cost averaging into Coinbase with $1,300 over like a year and a half or 2 years, I can't remember exactly how long, didn't really hurt that much. It was $50 when I would put it in there at a time. It wasn't that much, and it's gone up like 500 or 300%. Right? Now, it's not great. Like, I know a lot of people are like, $1,300, $5,000, that ain't much. No, you're right, right? It ain't much. But for somebody who had nothing, right, just a few years ago, this is a pretty big deal for me. And that, in conjunction with all the rest of the stuff that I have going on, I'm actually moved myself up to close to $100,000 in liquidable assets. And I think to myself, wow, the first 10,000 was so hard. It took forever to get $10,000 in a, to have like that in liquidable assets. Like I could just go down and get, sell it off and have it within a week, right? That's what I kind of consider a liquidable asset. Whether it's, on the Cash App or my physical silver or whatever. And I thought, man, $10,000 was so hard to get to. It took forever to get there. And then once I got to 10,000, it was like it came a lot faster. Like to get to the next 10,000 was actually fairly quick, it didn't take that long to get from like 10 to 20. But going from like 10 to 100 was a long, long time, right? It took forever to get from 10 to 100. It was like it almost seemed like it took as long to get to 10,000 as it did to get from 10,000 to 100. You see? Well, now, like, I watched with the crypto and everything happen, like, I watched close to $10,000 happen within a week or two within my holdings. Like, it'll, increase and decrease by $10,000 because of how volatile the portfolio is. And I think to myself, wow, holy moly, there was a time it took me forever to get to $10,000, and now I'm watching $10,000 fluctuate with inside of, a matter of days. What a difference. So again, building this thing up, it's like a piece by piece, brick by brick. It took me, I don't know how long I've been working on this. It's been like, even in the brokest of my days, I managed to still hold on to my box of silver. Now, I did have to give up quite a bit of it at one point to get a car, but I always had some. But it wasn't much, and I was deep in debt, and piecing this thing together, getting out of debt, building up this portfolio, building up the streams of revenue, income, and stuff. It's taken a long time. Yeah. And when I think about it, it was just like, man, I'm really happy with the position that I have. Later on today, I'm going to take the family. We're going to go on a hike and enjoy the afternoon. It's really sunny, and I think to myself, I'm not going to think about anything until it's time to go back to work at bingo. Because that's how I set this thing up for myself. Even my days off, I try to make money. I got my day job, I got the bingo, I got the YouTube, I got, whatever it is that I can get going on. And then I try to keep my life as mellow as possible after that so I can enjoy the time with my family. And I think, man, that is pretty cool. A lot of people are very frustrated trying to earn all the money and traveling and getting to the office on time and going and doing all these meetings and whatever it is that they got going on. It's a very busy and it consumes them, and that's all they can think about and do. And I'm thinking to myself, at any given time, I could probably just turn it off and walk away for a while. And not a whole lot will happen. Like, I mean, the sales will still get done at work, right? The YouTube channel will still be there when I come back to it. There's somebody else who can call bingo. My, I mean, I'll be a little less in my savings because I didn't earn any money, right? But at the overall experience or deterioration of my life, there won't be any. None whatsoever. I can do whatever I want. Wow. That was the first time in my life. And so all these people out there who struggle and push themselves to try and acquire something of like massive abundance, and I think to myself, man, how much freedom do you have from that? Can you really enjoy your life? Do you really enjoy your family? Do you really enjoy the experience that you are getting from all that? Because if you are, awesome. But if you are not, if you're frustrated, if your family's frustrated with you, what's the point? I understand that you might feel like you're being a major provider by providing this big, beautiful house and the cars and the vacations and all the other stuff that's going with it, but you're taking all your time away from them. That's not the experience they need. Huh? Maybe it is the experience they need. What am I to say? That's not the experience my family needs. All right? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you other people how it is. I'm just saying how it is for me. And, at some point, my life ain't going to look like this. It's going to be different. Kids will be growing up, and I'll be in a much different position, and I will be doing much different things. So, just that's it. Be aware of it. Just know that it's not anybody coming. Nobody's going to change anything about your situation except for the one that you're in, and the meaning that you've given it is everything behind it. Again, like if you look at the news articles and you're sitting back and you're watching the news, you're like, wow, man, that's pretty impactful. That's crazy, man. It's just like, and then all of a sudden your buddy is just like, this is the reason why it's all screwed up. And you can think, yep, that's the reason why it's all screwed up for you. That's exactly the reason. It's not screwed up for me. Yeah, it's screwed up for them. My life, right? I have nothing else that I can do to change anything about anybody else's existence out there other than the way that I'm behaving within this universe. That's the only thing I can do. All right. And somebody says, don't you feel sorry for him? Well, yeah, I can feel sorry for him. I mean, I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to see people suffer in pain and misery and stuff like that. But then again, there's not a lot I can do about changing anything about anything that somebody else is doing to put themselves in that position. I can offer up my assistance and saying, hey, this is what happened to me, why I was in that same similar position, what it was that I was thinking, why it wasn't working for me, and what I did to change that. And people say, oh, no, you just you don't know. And I was like, all right. It was like, continue on doing what you're doing, see if it works for you. What time is it? What? Oh, an hour into this. Man, I just babble on sometimes, don't I? All right. People nowadays are so reluctant to branch out and do anything. Far from the norm, it makes them helpless. Well, and I don't, and here's something that I kind of thought about. We're somewhat conditioned not to. Like, literally conditioned not to. You're, from the time you were born, you were essentially told what to do the entire time. Right? Go to school, right? Go to that birthday party, go, to this lesson, and clean up your broom. You were told the entire time, right? I mean, parents got to give you some sort of guidance, otherwise you'd be a feral person, right? So you're told what to do, and then all of a sudden you're dropped into reality. There you go. Okay, go out there and to be an adult, and nobody's going to tell you what to do anymore. Like, your boss might tell you what to do, but it's going to be more like in this frustrating, like, you lazy ass, get to work kind of thing. It ain't going to be like, hey, let me help you, understand, this math problem like your teacher's going to do. Like, maybe you might have a cool boss who will train you properly and, give you good insight. But unless you have like good guidance into being an adult to make your own decisions, most people are waiting to be told what to do because that's the way that they were conditioned their entire life. They even paid people to tell them what to do. It was just like, I'll pay you to train me. And then once I get the training, I get to then take that training to go to someplace else where they tell me what to do. And a lot of times people like look to the military for this very thing. Like, it's just so much easier just to be told what to do because that's the way we were conditioned. So you get out into adulthood, and if you don't join the military and you don't have a decent boss and you don't have, any kind of decent parents who are, willing to pay for or show you how to live as an adult or be trained, then you end up suffering with the idea that you're waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. Because you just literally didn't know or have the idea that you were supposed to do it for yourself unless somebody showed you. All right. And that's where I think it kind of sucks. Like, I think this is the same reason why a lot of times people end up like just losing connections as they get older. Because when you're younger and in school, it's almost expected to be in groups, right? This group go over there, work on this project. You guys go to band. You guys, you're in these groups, right? And you're just kind of forced to be in them. But then once you get out of school, well, other than being at work, you're not until you force yourself into a group. Most people don't really necessarily think about being part of a group for any particular reason. Like, I mean, some people do. They want to continue to play ball or, being active in theater or something like that. But generally, for the most part, people just leave and go to work. Well, when you're at work, you're not necessarily within a group of people that are doing the same thing you're doing, right? You might find people of different ages, different, life placements, like, whatever. They're raising a family. This person's getting ready to retire. That dude over there is just like, he's totally weird. I don't even like him, right? You'll find like there's like that's not the group, right? So, without being told what to do and not actively pursuing groups to be with, people lose connection with how it is that they are supposed to behave because, well, they didn't lose connection with how they were supposed to behave. They didn't know that they were supposed to behave in a different way other than being invited and told. Right? So now they have to actively go out there and pursue. And this pursue ends up looking very creepy and weird and needy and all this other stuff because they've never done it before. Right? Just like anything else out there, if you've never danced, right, and you go out on the dance floor and you try to shake a leg or make a move out there on the dance floor, you're gonna look pretty funny. And that's me. Like, I don't know how to dance, and I always use that as an example because I think like people who can dance is really cool. Like, I think, man, that's cool. I wish I could go out there and look like that. When I dance, I feel embarrassed. I don't want to go out there. In fact, I'm the dude over there leaned up in the corner because I don't want to dance. So knowing that that's going to end up being the case for a lot of people who never experienced, like some people just know it. As a young person, you just know, you get out there, you have a lot of friends, you make a lot of friend groups, you continue to make more friends and have these big friend groups. Other people don't know that they were supposed to, right? And as the older they get, the more disconnected they get and the less friends they have. And then, pretty soon they're just kind of bitter old people. Some of the stuff I talk about. All right. All right. I was wild one. There used to be ways to make good money and be free. Too much surveillance tech these days. Sad. Huh. Um, it's not too late to take some dancing classes. Yeah, no kidding. We're talking about dancing now. Well, no, we weren't really necessarily talking about dancing. I mean, we were, but we were talking about like if you're going to do something new or do something different, then you're going to have to know that you're going to be very awkward in the beginning stages of it. And I use dancing as an example because I can't dance. I'm like, I'm terrible at it and I feel very awkward and weird when I go out there to dance. So I would imagine that somebody who didn't know how to make friends and wants to make friends and knows that they have to actively try to make friends to try and go and make friends would be very weird and creepy for most people if they've never done it before because they literally just don't know how to make friends. And so they they come off different and, odd or whatever, socially awkward. The more you make friends, the more you realize that it's a lot easier, casual, thing that takes place, and it's not something that you force, but something that just more of occurs because of the general feelings that you have from just being around people and their natural being. That's how friends are really made. It's like, there's some places that I really like hanging out with some people, and then other places I don't like hanging out with those people. It's because it's just a totally different thing. Like, I like going and doing campfire and stuff with like this particular person, but I don't like going to the bar because of the way they act at the bar, right? But at the campfire, they're totally cool, kind of thing. Like, just totally like what different energies that are carried inside of that. Recognizing that, right? That not everybody is going to carry what it is that you are wanting to feel from that person at the time, but that, just because you don't like them in this particular circumstance, you may like them in a totally different way. Yeah. And so, hanging out and being at the bar is really annoying and frustrating, but going fishing is a hell of a lot of fun. And so this is that's just how you have to look at everybody around. I mean, at least that's the way I do, and I try to understand that not everybody's going to like me for Like people really like hanging around me when I'm calling bingo, but then they may not like me when I'm just like doing uneducated economist stuff. They're like, oh God, that's super boring. Let's go back to the bar and call bingo. Right? All right. Did I miss another super chat? Did I get them all? Let me cruise back here a little ways. Here we go. Many people suffer from paralysis by analysis when it comes to starting a business. The key is to just get started and then figure things out as you go. I agree with that. And so here's the thing that I've really learned about, even like let's take back to the dancing analogy. Like you could watch all the videos on how to dance, you can read books on it, but until you actually go out on the dance floor, it doesn't matter how much you have internalized the information, you're still gonna dance like a goofball, right? Because you haven't learned the moves, you haven't gotten the muscle memories down, you haven't done it, you know. So there's a different energy on learning to dance. Like you might know what it is that you need to do to dance. You might know the steps that you need to go through. You might know everything that has to happen. But until you actually go through the process of doing it and taking those steps and getting the muscle memory down and becoming a dancer, you're not going to be a dancer no matter how much you take the information in. Same thing with the business owner. You can take in all the information on how to be a business owner, all the details on what it is to be a landlord, all the fine tunings of how to get financing, all the stuff about it. You can sit there and constantly learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, but you will never be in the ability to do it until you start doing it, because I guarantee you the first time you do it, you will run into a problem you were not aware of, no matter how much you learn, right? You're going to have to face those problems as it happens, just like the comment was saying. And once you have learned those, figured out what the problems were, other things that you have learned will come into play. You will be able to use them. So you had two different energies that will end up happening. You'll have one that I'm in the learning energy and then the one of the doing energy. There's people who will just skip right over the learning energy, go right into doing and learn their lessons as they go, and they will get punished big time for it, right? However, by taking the punishment in an extreme fashion, they learn some serious lessons and they get really, really good at it. They got their whoopings. I mean, it's just like, they learn their lessons. And that's going to happen no matter what. So you can either learn your lesson by sitting there studying all day long, not doing, right? Because that's not the same thing. If you were doing, you'd be learning lessons too, but you're learning lessons and not doing. So you learn lessons while not doing. Eventually, you're going to have to go and do, and you're still going to learn a lesson, right? May not be as bad as the person who just dives in head first. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good challenge. We should do that. We should make up. I don't know how to organize this or make it work so that I would actually stay up to date on it. But I think that that would be a fun thing to try and do. Is 90-day challenge every single day, half an hour spend either coming up with business ideas, business names, business models, something of that nature, to spend 30 minutes every single day doing something that is leaning towards owning your own or having your own business of some sort, right? And to spend 30 days doing that, listing it out or coming up with something. And I really, really want to see what the results of that would be for different people. You know, like to see what the 90-day journal would look like for people on that. That would be so cool. Like we should do YouTube channel. We should start YouTube channel. That's Everybody should start one actually, based on this 90-day challenge. I think this is a good idea. I think this is a really good idea because this is going to give so many people so many good ideas on what it is that they should be doing with their own life, because nobody's going to, like, I can't possibly think of all these ideas that you could do. But, collectively, if we were to have, I don't know if necessarily a single channel, but I think like groups of channels based around this idea. That way we could follow the individual ones that, are best suited to us. But coming up with like this 90-day journal of every single day spending 30 minutes a day coming up with a business idea, business model, business names, business something, okay? And see what comes from that. And I would just be amazed. I'm sure we would be amazed by what the results of that would be. Because I think so many people out there would just all of a sudden just like, I think the energy of just being in that and watching it and thinking about it would then send them into being into getting into business all on their, just from doing it. Like almost like a, I don't know, what, creating the energy that the pendulum of getting on the pendulum of business ownership, right? And swinging on that. I don't know how to. I'm a finance nerd, and I like to BS on the topic. I suspect others here are too. Yeah, absolutely. All right. You should have one that has guys selling their business and retiring as well. Yeah, and that was pretty good because like my friend who had done that with the vacuum cleaner in a cleaning business sold her clientele for like a lot. It was like 100 grand she sold it off for. And somebody in the comment section that said that's what businesses are for, is for building and selling. Like you build up a business and you sell. You build up a business and sell it. And I thought, huh, I never really like, I mean, yeah, I guess one could. Like if you are in a position of being an entrepreneur who can recognize how it is that you can establish a business, get that business up and running, and then sell it off and do it again someplace else, like that's pretty cool, right? I mean, you don't have to spend the time running the business after you get it up and running. You just sell it off to somebody else, make a profit off of it, and do it again. Like it's like building a product, building that picnic table or building a business. Same thing. It's just this one's made out of wood and screws and saws and stain, and the other one's built off of ideas and financing and, equipment or whatever. It's just like, you know, I think, I mean, that's the type of energy to be in. How long do you guys want to go? We're almost an hour and a half into this thing. I got 218 people watching with 140 likes. We got $20 in super chats because you guys are always so awesome with supporting the Uneducated Economist with those super chats. Another good way of supporting the Uneducated Economist is by hitting that thumbs up button. If you continue to hit the thumbs up button, get it up to, I don't know, 150, 160 or so, we'll continue on with this live stream. Otherwise, we'll just call it quits at an hour and 30 minutes into it. But I think, this initial idea of trying to create like an energy of starting a business, and I think that would be it, like 30 minutes a day for 90 days, everybody getting on board with that, right? I just hit the like button. Well, we had 3 other people who hit the like button. We have 202 people watching, so we can definitely have it up over 200 people with on that like button. But continue to hit it. We'll get it up to 150 and we'll continue on. I personally talked to a professional trader once, and he basically said that if you didn't start on Wall Street at 21 and you're better off getting a fund that tracks the S&P 500. I somewhat agree with that. I really do. And what I would suggest to people, and this is my opinion personally, is that if you're going to move into a stock, go into something that you know. Like if you know firearms, if you know alcohol, if I don't know, lawn equipment, I don't know, something like if you understand a particular industry for whatever reason, like go towards something like that, right? Because most people, like people ask me all the time, is this a good company to invest in? And I cannot tell you if it's a good company. I do not know how to look at all those numbers from those companies. There are people out there on YouTube who do this, who understand it. They can say, look at these numbers and it'll tell you if they're a good company or not. Like almost like just fill in the boxes, look for these moving averages and you're golden. Like I can't do any of that stuff. I'm not trying. But I do see trends. And I think about the trends that I see are very unique to what I think a lot of other people are seeing out there. One of them being like just the currency markets in itself, not necessarily the foreign currency trades, but the fact that the stable coin was being introduced. And I had an idea about that happening from an IMF article from years ago. It gave me the confidence to deploy money into Coinbase. So it's stuff like that I look at that I think to myself, yeah, I'm not good at picking stocks, but I am good at picking a general area to put my money towards. And at least I feel pretty good about that because, over the years, I've been able to go from negative $20,000 to, here it is, what I feel is pretty close to $100,000 in liquidable assets, depending on the particular day and where Bitcoin is at the moment, So, you know, that that to me is like, I think I kind of know what I'm doing. At least I feel like I'm confident in know what I'm doing because I'm diversified in so many different ways. And that's not even including like the house. Like you consider like the equity that's going into the house as well. I'm doing quite well. Put myself in a very good position, even in this current economic environment. And I understand that not everybody can have a YouTube channel, but considering that I work the YouTube channel like a second job, I think a lot of people could go out there and put more effort beyond their day job to acquire a lot of the things that they would really want in their life. All right, 162. Thank you so much for continuing to hit that like button. Very much appreciate it, and we'll continue to push this video out there for more people to join in. All right, cannabis died. I got into land investing. Yeah, I was never a fan of the cannabis industry. In fact, that's one of the topics that I'm not really allowed to talk about here on YouTube. It's kind of weird. All right. Hey, Brody. Wait to see. Okay, Justin, seriously answer. Take as much responsibility as possible. Be useful. Yeah, and that's hard to accept. It's a bitter pill to swallow to say, hey, man, you have to take responsibility for yourself. And again, like, I think that's because really we were never conditioned to take responsibility for ourselves. Like, pick up your room, brush your teeth, stuff like that. I mean, that kind of responsibility, but never really like make decisions for yourself. I I had to learn that when Freddie says, "Hey, can I have some cookies?" All right? And I say, "Yes." And he says, "How many?" My answer to him, "What do you think is the appropriate amount that you should have?" All right? Like you can go ahead and take some cookies there. How many do you think that you should have? Right? And he says, "A reasonable amount." And I say, "Yeah, this seems reasonable to me." Right? I let him make his own decision on how much he thinks is right. Right? I can't tell him forever what the right decision is going to be. But if he knows where the appropriate decision is already, deep down inside, because I've already shown him that he doesn't have to ask me. Right? He already knows, and I know he knows, and he knows, and everybody knows he knows. Right? Because that's the way he's going to be able to make right decisions going on in his future. If he's going to be saying, hey, is this the appropriate amount? Yeah, he's already learned how to make it the appropriate amount. He doesn't have to fight for it. If he was to say 4 cookies, I would have said, yeah, that's it. If he would have said 5, I would have been like, I mean, it seems a lot, but that's still reasonable, right? I mean, if it was 4 cookies, it was okay. 5. He works out all the time. He's like, super fit. He eats his vegetables constantly. Like, that's the one thing that he really eats everything up. Like, who am I to say, like, hey, man, 5 cookies is reasonable or not? 6 seems to be a lot. We could see pushing the number out there, but we didn't have to. He knew. He knew at 4. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that with everything in life. Like, it's hard to say that with, hey, make sure you brush your teeth. Right? It's hard, right? It's like, making your kids like to remember to go and brush their teeth without having lessons and forcing them to do it is hard. Like, they don't want to brush their teeth, like I didn't want to brush my teeth when I was a kid either. And so my older child, he brushes his teeth. I mean, it's like I didn't have to tell him. He has lessons. He sets a timer. Like when he was a kid, he likes rules. Like he would make up his own. If you didn't give him rules, he would make up his own rules. And I want rules. He likes structure. Yeah. And my younger, not so much like that. How do you put the right decision into people? You can't, right? It's hard to get them to make the right decision for themselves because most people were never really actually trained or shown how to make a right decision for themselves. As soon as they had the ability to go and get a box of cookies for themselves, they ate the whole box. Right? Because they were never given the opportunity to say, hey, man, you can have really as many as you want, but why don't you just take a reasonable amount? Right? It's hard. Life is hard to train people, right? Train your kids to be people. There we go. That's what I meant to say. It's just like, because giving them a lot of freedom is also, kind of dangerous in a lot of ways. But if you don't give them the freedom, then they end up making bad decisions. We wonder why 80% of the people fail, or failing, or feel like they're failing. It's because they're literally sitting out there waiting to be told what to do. And that's the part. That's the hardest part, because nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to tell them what to do, and that's hard for a lot of people to understand, because their entire life, they're literally their entire life, all the way up until the day that they moved out of their house or became an adult, they have been told what to do, and never saying, hey, what do you think is a reasonable amount? Thanks, Brody. NUE. My favorite dental advice is that no matter what happens in life, don't stop brushing your teeth. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because, like I don't go and have my teeth whitened, and I drink a lot of coffee, right? So my teeth are discolored, and I laugh at people who are like, who make fun of it, because every time I go to the dentist to have my teeth cleaned, they're like, wow, you got really nice teeth. I'm like, yeah, because I was in the military and I went to the dentist like every 6 months and had my teeth taken care of and all the other stuff. And why it is that I choose not to whiten my teeth, I don't know. But I brush my teeth, I floss them, I got really nice teeth. And the dentist tells me that every single time, and, and I think it's just like, whatever. Although it had been a while, like it was a few years ago that it had been a while since I had my teeth cleaned, and it was like I felt really bad for the dental hygienist. This is TMI, but anyway, it was like she was chiseling that crap off of there, and I'm like, oh my God, I am never waiting this long again, uh, if you are serious, find something you enjoy and make it a career. That's something that I thought about too. I almost disagree with that. Like, don't make it something that you have to do. Make it something that you get to do. That's the way I feel about work. That's the way I feel about the YouTube channel. It's the way I feel about bingo. It's the way I feel about everything that I do, is that everything that I'm doing is something that I get to do. It's nothing I have to do. And for a while there, I really felt like YouTube had turned into something that I have to do. Like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to make my payments. I'm not going to be able to. And I had all this worry and anxiety that started building up around it. And I had to finally let it all go. And it was just like, no. The reason why you enjoyed the channel, the reason why you were enjoying work, the reason why you were enjoying it is because all this stuff was building you up and giving you a position in which that you were able to just continue to operate without stress, and you enjoyed that part of it. Why are you anxiety? Why are you worried? Right? And I thought to myself, you're right, dude. Think about it differently. Give it different meaning. So I gave it the meaning that I get to do all this. This is what I get to do. As other people get to do carpentry and build homes, and other people get to do investments and broker stuff, I get to do this. I get to go to a day job that is somewhat fun. I mean, it's just sales, so it's not like, it's terribly exciting. But it's lumber sales, and I like the people that I work with, so, I get to go do that. And then I get to do YouTube, and then I get to go call bingo, and I get to do a lot of fun stuff that gives me the ability to do the things that I do in my life. This is like, I get to do it all, Mike Rose said, follow opportunities, what you're good at and available to you, and take your passion with you versus forcing your passion to be your career. Yeah, and I would agree with that, right? Because like this, following my passion has given me so much more than following what I believe would be a career. It's given me so much more, right? It's given me more inspiration. It's given me more abundance. It's given me more. It's just better, right? It's just giving me more. But I didn't follow my passion with the idea of making money. That just happened to come as the natural consequence of following my passion, right? Like, so consequence, if you want to call it that, right? Because it did make me a lot of money that then gave me the ability to feel like, oh crap, man, I could use this like a career, right? And so because of that, I literally felt like everything in my world had changed. Excuse me, everything felt so weird. It's like something had grabbed a hold of me and started shoving me forward, and was just like, here, take that, right? Like like having to move. I Landlord was saying, hey man, I want to sell this house, you want to buy it? And I said, I don't want to buy this house. I mean, I like renting this house, but I don't want to buy this house in this location. And he's like, okay, well, I want to sell it, so you're going to have to move. Well, that's during a time in which there was no place to move to. So here it is, I'm trying to figure out a way to find a place to move to. I have no other choice. If I want to live in Clatsop County, I have to buy a house. So here it is, I'm being forced into buying a house. How many people have been put in a position in which that they were forced into buying a house? Like, that's not what happens. People choose to try and buy a house and then they hope they can. People don't get forced into buying a house. Like, that happens, I guess, to some people, but not really. And here it was that I was being forced into buying a house. I think about all the things that I had done in my life that led me up to that moment. I was trying to buy a house. I didn't think I was, but everything I did, everything in my life was leading me right up to having the ability to buy a house. Like, whether I was willing to admit it or not, I was trying to buy a house. And so when I was forced into buying a house, no, I had literally just put myself in the position to buy a house and was scared and gave it meaning that I was being forced. But that's exactly what was taking place, is that I was lining myself up to buy a house, doing everything that I needed to do to buy a house and position myself to buy a house. And then the moment came that says, here, you got to buy this house. And I said, okay. And it feels forced. It doesn't feel like I'm making this decision. It feels like it's forced. Well, maybe it's because all the decisions that you have been making all the way back there that you said wasn't to buy a house was to buy a house. And now here you are buying a house. You're like, I didn't want to buy a house. It was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been making all those decisions to put yourself in a position to buy a house then, if you didn't want to buy a house. Like, literally, this is the struggle that I was facing. Isn't that weird? You think about your actions, the things that you were thinking about. I dreamed of having a big house with a big front yard and a place in the back for chickens. Freddie's raising 2 turkeys for fair. I got this huge front yard that the neighbor was cool enough to come over and mow, so I didn't have to spend the afternoon mowing it. Like, all these things that I envisioned, that I had believed deep down inside, came into my reality, came into existence. And it didn't happen the way that I was thinking it was going to. Like, nothing happened the way that I was expecting it. Not the way, right? See, I have a really big ego that has this really narrow tunnel vision at times that says it has to go down this particular way. And then when I try to tear that thing down and say, okay, fine, it doesn't have to go down any particular way, and I won't be frustrated if it doesn't go down that way. And when I tear down that ego and I say, okay, fine, just let it be whatever it's going to be, all of a sudden this really magical experience starts to take place. And I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Not like that. I didn't realize that my ego was holding me back the entire time. Scared to buy a house, so much so that I felt forced into buying it. Isn't that weird? Yeah, that's human nature for it. I mean, I didn't know what I was going through at the time. I look back on it and I go like, oh my God, that's so weird. That is so weird. Yeah. All right. Sounds like your subconscious mind was positioning you to buy that house. Yeah, it was. You're absolutely right. Right? Or else it couldn't have happened. Like, I knew, like, I had that vision of the house. I had no idea how I was going to be buying a house. No clue. I had no idea about YouTube. I didn't know about anything going on out there that was going to take place. But the vision of the house was definitely there. Yeah. And whatever See, that's the funny thing about it. If you give yourself that mental picture and don't really think about the path to get there. Like I need, like, there are certain things that you have to do, like, like anything, and just like the path to dancing, that you're going to have to take lessons, that there's some knowledge in there that you're going to have to gain, that there's steps like that you have to get to. But I think it's less important to be like, like so fixated on that process, on how that works, that you never actually go down the road, right? Like a lot of people will be like, no, I need to feel confident about what it is that's happening here before I go down that road, right? Instead of just going down the road. Like sometimes step one is literally just like, I don't even know what step one is. So you start heading down the road and you get hurt, or failure or something happens, like, oh, okay, there's step one. Okay, got to do that, right? And then you kind of move into that direction of things. Subconscious beliefs. That's the key to it all. You change your subconscious, you change what it is that you are truly thinking and feeling about yourself, and everything else will begin to line up. Even if you don't want it to, it will happen. Much like the house, right? Didn't want to buy the house, right? But subconscious, like the subconscious was like, I don't think so, dude. You're doing everything, you've been thinking about that picture in your head. Everything that you have like committed yourself to has led you right down to the path of buying this house. You really don't have any other choice because subconsciously you knew you wanted it. Even though all the fear and anxiety and everything was there. So I agree a lot with that. Just put that image in your head and don't really stress about like the actual path of getting there. Just know that if you move in that direction, like if you have intent towards it, that you're going to learn lessons. You're probably going to get punished in a lot of ways that gives you fear and anxiety and doubt about going any further with it. That's the tension you need to lean into, right? The punishment is the lesson learned, right? That cost of, whatever, money or maybe relationship or something. I don't know, whatever it is that fears you. Excuse me. Did I miss another super chat? Let me go back here real quick. Did I get them all? Excellent points as usual. Thank you very much. Real GSG for the $1.99. I really appreciate the super chat and all the support that you guys are giving the Uneducated Economist. We have 182 people watching. That's very close to, or 207 people watching with 183 likes. That's very close to having as many likes as people watching, and that's always my favorite. So if you can keep hitting that like button, if you haven't hit that like button yet, go down and hit the thumbs up, and we'll see if we can get it up to as many people watching as there is who have hit the thumbs up button. Would you be forced today with a 7% rate and higher price compared to when you bought in when price and rate was low? Okay, what I think is funny is that people told me at the time that the price was high, right? And that's one of the things that got me. So now the price is low. I would not be able to buy this house at all. Not off of my income today. Not, I, well, I would have to sell off a bunch of assets to come up with the down payment. I mean, I guess I could come up with a down payment for it. But, but it would take just about everything to come up with a down payment. And I doubt that I would be able to make the interest payment off of it with the elevated interest rates the way they are. I just don't think that I could buy into this house even today, even in the position that I'm holding. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. It was probably one of the best decisions that I had ever made, even though I didn't feel like it was a decision that I was like able to make. I felt forced, right? But you're the one signing your name to the bottom line. There's always a decision that there's always something else you could be doing. Yeah. Oh, man. What time is it now? 11 o'clock. Hour 43 minutes into it, 188 likes. All right. Everything is timing. I've been seeing shifts in the online publication list of top expat cities. Mazat, Mazatan? Mazatlan. Pop up citing healthcare. I don't know. Huh. The kids do like living in this little mansion, though. Yeah, and that's really why, like I think about it, it was just like I really only had the vision of the house so that I could raise the family. Otherwise, like having a house isn't really that important to me because I really don't really like living in the house. I mean, it's cool. I like being here at times. The garden's fun, and all that other stuff. But really, I like traveling around. I like going to other places. And so if I had the ability to, kind of travel around and do different things, that would be a much better experience for me for a while. Like, maybe I'll get tired of it and not want to do it anymore and want to settle back down into a house. But for the most part, being in a house is only cool because I have the family. If I didn't have the family, then I'd rather rent the property out and go travel around and do different things like that. That would be, to me, that would be a better experience. Simon, are the values coming down by you? Home prices have declined around 12% out by me. Well, I mean, I guess if you're talking from when, like, because it peaked out a couple of years ago, probably over, I don't know, a good 20% higher than where they are today. But really, considering the price decline that has taken place, I'm still sitting at, I don't know, about a little over 10% higher than what I had paid for it. Like, it was a ridiculous rise in prices around here. I mean, like, just absolutely ridiculous. I bought the house and it went up by a lot, like a lot. So when it came down and what I feel crashed, in prices, was all the ridiculousness coming out of it, right? And it was just like, okay, so cool. Like this obvious, like overwhelming number that came into the Zillow estimate on my house. Now that we've removed this overwhelming number, because that's not real, it's still sitting at like 10% higher than what I had paid for it. So are they coming down a lot? Yeah. To what? Compared to what? I mean, I think that's probably going to be the question that you have to ask on everything from now on is like, is it expensive compared to what? Like Jason Hartman says, this is the thing that you have to look at. Whether or not to buy a house, is it expensive compared to what? Compared to, 30 years ago, yeah, houses is a lot, but is it a lot compared to, lumber? Not really. I mean, a house compared to like lumber is like super cheap right now. You could trade a house for a lot of lumber, but you can't trade a house for a lot of gold. You can trade a little gold for a lot of house. How many people here thought that when COVID was done, they would have no excuse to spend trillions and everything would have come back down? I don't know. I tried to tell everybody that COVID was a reason to push an elevated inflation expectation. And that's what I believe. That's what I believe from COVID, is that they used it to push an elevated inflation expectation. And it worked. All right, 195 likes. So we're going to get it up to probably I don't know, a 2-hour mark. And we're going to call it good at 2 hours, right? I think that's probably long enough. But I would like to, answer any more questions if anybody wants me to break something down or talk about anything in particular. I think the understanding of this video, or at least the topic of this video, is literally coming down to the meaning that you decided to give all the information that you are taking in, and whether or not you're using that information to, to actually specifically deteriorate your life or to try and use it to enhance your life. I think this is where the 80% of the people end up putting themselves, is like, hey, this information is proof of it deteriorating my life. where 20% of the people say, wow, this is really heavy. How do I use this to better myself? And so by taking on a different understanding of the meaning behind the information, you will literally change the way that you are conducting yourself and how it is that your economy will either grow and be strong and be better, or deteriorate into the abyss. The number one, reason for economic downfall is literally your own thinking. And I know a lot of people want to blame the external. When the external gets blamed, you'll then forever be stuck on blaming the external with never ever being able to change the inner problems that you may be facing that are putting you in a position that feels deteriorated and depressed and, and doing bad, or however you want to look at it. I don't want to say that you're doing bad. It's probably just more like you just don't know and just not aware that your thinking process has actually deteriorated yourself into this condition that you're in. And the reason why I can say that is because that's exactly what I was facing just, 9 years ago. And so when I share my experience with people, I say, hey, at the time, I was thinking the New World Order was coming after me and deteriorating my life and making it bad. And that's exactly the reflection that I was getting from it. When I let go of that and said, okay, how do I use this information to better myself? This is the experience. This is the reflection that I get from it. And I try to share that with people like, hey, you can do the same thing. Change your mindset away from this is deterioration to this is helpful, useful, even though it's heavy and bad and I don't like it. Because how many people do you know sit there and get mad at the TV screen from the information that is being put at them, and they are choosing to absorb this information? I think to myself, why do you watch it if it upsets you? Unless you are going to take that information and go make money with it somehow, then there's no point in like just sit there and just jumping on some pendulum of some other politician who's created it so that they could get power out of it that then eventually dissolves, and you're just left there with nothing but depleted energy. So don't get on the pendulum. Don't even follow it unless you are planning on actively doing something with it. Then there's no point in getting so frustrated and mad about the TV or the things that are being said there. It's better to just internalize the information and say, wow, that's pretty heavy. What is it that I can do? Like, how is it that I go out there and make my business better? How is it that I go out there and, invest with my understanding of where I am in my position in life? How is it that I, use this information to better myself, whatever way it is that you need to figure out, because everybody's going to do it differently. But when you change that mindset, right, it's literally giving it positive or negative energy from the information you're giving, because it's the same. Everybody can sit there and look at the same program, receive it differently, right? So it's very important that you receive it in a way that says, okay, all right, how do I deal with it? And not, ooh, this is horrible. This is, because if you do it that way, it gets difficult. All right, we got more people who have liked the video than watching right now. I love it. But, that means a bunch of people bailed out. So it's all right, Brody. I think it's possibly best to say things like our high water mark was in 2001 for that reason. Coin shops are buying silver by me. Coins and bars under 1 kilo each. But politics don't matter when it comes to economics. Well, no. It doesn't matter to my economics, and it doesn't matter to the underlying economic forces that are out there, because those are always going to be present no matter what you have for politics going on at the time. How you position yourself on account of the politics that are taking place out there will impact your life, or it won't, depending on how you position yourself in accordance to that. So when people say that politics is very much important when it comes to economics, well, yeah, maybe in the way that you have positioned yourself in accordance to that. But to me, there's underlying economic forces that is forcing the government to act and behave in the ways that they are doing it. And so therefore, I look at those underlying economic forces as more of the reasonings behind the symptoms that most people are recognizing as the forces that are causing the economic chaos that they experience, because of the position that they have taken in accordance to that. Right? See, again, if you are, if you live way out in the middle of nowhere, right? And you live off your land and you live in a cabin and you don't have any, like, your taxes are paid or whatever, like you don't have anybody coming out and visiting you or checking on you or anything else like that, what difference does anything that government do to you? Not a thing. All right? Not a thing. But the moment that you want to step out there and you want to start doing something, you're going to have government involvement. Now, the bigger that the transactions of people that are doing out there, the more government involvement you're going to have with it. But you personally can step away from it at any given moment, right? And not involve yourself with it. Your economy, your personal economy, is only as deep into government as you are wanting it to be. The more you want to involve yourself with big finance and banking systems and all that other stuff, the more you're asking to get involved with government. Those things don't exist in an economy. Like, your economy doesn't manifest that stuff. You have to go and experience that from whatever it is that area that you happen to be in. I guess what I'm saying from that is that the fact that the government is there to even provide the ability to have financing is directly against the underlying economic forces that will eventually deteriorate the whole system. If you want to be part of that, you're more than welcome to, and you will have government involved in your life. Right? But if you don't want government involved in your life, what you can do is you can work at a job, take on as very little expenses as you can, take all your extra money, right, that you have, and you put it into gold and silver. Once you have it in gold and silver, you're excluded from the government. You're not there. Like, they can try and make rules and stuff like that, but you don't have to follow their rules. You have a freedom then you have a constitutional right to hold and bear arms. You have a constitutional right to your privacy. And if you know how to exercise your constitutional right, then there's nobody that bothers you, right? And I know that there's a lot of people who will disagree and argue with that. I guarantee you that if you were not screwing around trying to figure out how it is that you could use the government system in order to advance yourself or to steal from them somehow and put yourself in an elevated position, if you weren't trying to use the government to do that, then they wouldn't have come after you, because they don't care if you were living out in the woods by yourself doing nothing. That's the way I see it, right? I am behaving as a sovereign person. I am out here. I carry the ultimate freedom wherever it is that I stand, and I have to conduct myself inside of this sovereign citizen feeling in a way that says, okay, I have to interact with government agencies as a sovereign person. But I do not have to take on anything of authority from anybody else. I carry the highest authority there is. And I understand that if I interact with these government agencies, that I am going to subject myself to the loss of freedom, to being taxed, to being forced into different directions. But I choose to do this. There is a huge difference inside of that. You can give it any meaning you want. This is the meaning that I give it. I carry ultimate freedom. I am choosing to relinquish some of that freedom so I can have security. And I understand exactly how I did that and how it is that I'm now interacting with the government because of it. And if I lose some of these benefits from government, so be it, that I'm getting my freedom back. Not a lot of people see it that way. How many people look at Social Security as their right? You put into this, it's your right to get your Social Security. And I'm like, nah, that's just another government entity out there that's just trying to control and manipulate my experience in here in this world. No, thank you. Like, if you want to give it to me, that's cool. I'll take it. Right? But you're not going to dangle that shit in front of me and say, hey, man, you better listen to what I say or you're going to win or lose this thing. And it's just like, keep it. There. Problem solved. You're not involved in my life anymore, are you? Because I don't care about your Social Security. Right? Now, if you want to give it to me, that's cool. But if you want to dangle it in front of me and say, hey, man, if you don't vote this way or that way or whatever, you're not going to get it, then goodbye. See ya. You're not going to do that to me. I do not care. Well, dangle that thing out in front of me again, see what happens. It was just like, I don't care. It's like that ain't gonna persuade me one way or the other. Because I already wrote that shit off. I did. It was just like, oh, that's government program promising to pay me some sort of security and going into the future. Yeah, I'll trust that. Not. And so I don't like other people are like, oh no, man, that's yours. You have to have it. You got to make it important to you. Make Social Security important to you because it's important to them. And if it isn't important to me, then it's like all of a sudden they're like, oh no, like you're not on the power pendulum with me to save my Social Security. I'm like, no, I am not. I am not on that power pendulum. Good luck, right? I pay into it. It's my old person tax. It's cool, whatever. Like I don't have a problem paying it. Yeah, but because I understand that there's people out there who are desperate in need of it, and hey, if you need yours, go for it, man. I'm not going to have it held out in front of me saying, hey, this is your right, you deserve this. And it's not my right, and no, I don't deserve it. All right? Because by deserving it means that I'm going to force somebody else to then provide it to me, and I'm not going to do that. Signing the future up to make a payment to me that they didn't say that they weren't volunteering to do. So yeah, if it's there, cool. If not, so be it. Yeah. And that's exactly the way I'm going to look at it for the rest of my life, because that's any other way and you're going to have government controlling you. Yeah. Don't pass any bills for 1 year and let's see what happens. Of course, there are underlying forces of economics that don't have to do with government, but the government mostly definitively should be in calculus, I would think. Why? Why do it? Why put government involved in your life? Like every time you're saying that we should do this, like you have to incorporate this into your life. And it was just like, why? Man, I know it's important to you, but it's not important to me. All right? And so you can incorporate it into your life and you can incorporate it into your economic existence, and it would be very impactful and very profound to you. And now you can give me all the reasons why it's impactful and profound to me. I don't find importance in it, and so therefore it's not. It's literally the meaning that we have decided to give the information to ourselves. All right? You can say, oh, these tariffs and all this other stuff, it's, causing my job to get sent overseas, or it's causing, these people to, whatever problems that they face. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's the position that you're holding, right? You want it to stay the same. I know that you want it to stay the same. I want things to stay the same too, because I don't necessarily like change either, but I understand that change is going to happen no matter what. And I have to adapt to the change or else suffer the consequences of, wishing that, government would do something about it. I don't know how to give it to you in a way that says government should not be at your forefront in understanding the economy. What you should understand is your position inside of it, right? A government contract with a military manufacturer out there will have a profound impact on an individual's life if they are working for that particular company. And they can say, no, government has a huge impact on the economy. Just look at this. Yes, it does. It has a huge impact on your economy and everything that you are relating to the economy and everything that you see around it. It is absolutely 100% impacting your economy, and I truly believe that. All right? But that contract may not have anything to do with me other than possibly adjusting the amount of taxes that I ended up paying. And yeah, okay. Like, that's how it impacts me, and not really. What are you going to do? Right? I mean, I can't make people want to look at the things that I want them to look at. Right? Like, I would like look at this, look at that, invest in these things, I can't do that. The only thing I can do is just share my understanding of the strategies and the things that I have experienced with you guys in hopes that maybe somebody will say, hey man, I'm somewhat experiencing those similar things and I appreciate it. Oh, all right, guys. I didn't realize that my phone's about ready to die. But that's okay. It's been a long live stream. We should probably call it quits here. Anyway, thank you very much for being here, Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.